In today's video, we have an amazing transformation. Moises Contreras went from looking like this to looking like this. Can you believe that? In 90 days, he lost around 30 pounds and he completely transformed his physique. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about his diet, a little bit about his training, a little bit about his cardio. We're even gonna talk about his next goals. But the goal right now for these videos is to get you guys to understand that you can make some serious changes to your physique and your lifestyle. And I also want to let you know that the transformation challenge that Moises just took a part of and was one of our champions, well, guess what? We got another one starting. I'll put that link below. But for now, enjoy this interview with Moises. I think honestly, the only reason you didn't win the competition was probably because you started in a pretty good spot, right? So for us, we try not to turn this into a bodybuilding competition. We try to make it about the transformation start to finish.
Right.
And while yours was remarkable, you already had a ton of muscle, but you still managed to lose what, 30 pounds?
30 pounds. Yeah. I've actually done this transformation challenge 3 times.
Okay.
And, my expectations haven't been to win. It was just to be part of something. And I actually started my first one right in when the pandemic started. So I was living in South America at the time in Chile.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to compete in powerlifting at the time. And that got canceled. So I was like, all right, so what do I do now? I couldn't even leave my apartment. So I ran into this transformation challenge. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for it, try it out. So I was like weighing like 240. I was competing in the minus 105s
Yep.
in the IPF. And yeah, that transformation lost. I went from, I think it was 238 down to 213.
Okay.
And then I did it again, and I went from 225 down to 203. And actually, this is my fourth time. Now that I think about it.
So what for the 30 pounds for this one, what was the starting and ending weight that you had?
So I started right at 213, and I ended right at 183. My goal was to get to 195.
Okay.
But then
Did
I
you
tried
run
posting.
into, I just had an interview and I ran into a situation where the competitor finished the challenge and added the food back in and dropped the cardio and kept dropping. Did you run into a situation like that?
Yeah, like, I was like at, I think, week 8, and I was like at my goal, and I was like, what do I do now? So I posted on Facebook, and people were like, keep going, man, keep going. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna keep doing it and see what happens. Um,
So it's been a couple weeks. So how is your post
so
transformation
yeah,
challenge been?
I'm still fairly lean. I mean, I'm right now 191. Um, I've been eating a lot. I have been eating what I was eating before. I mean, like my caloric intake right now, because I'm not doing it every day. I'm not tracking it every day, but every third day or something like that. And I'm right around 28 to 3,200 calories. I ended
Okay.
right around 1850.
So you ended at 1850, which would have put you right about 10 times your body weight, which is where I start to as a coach, and you'll pay attention. Okay, this is where we need to have some higher carb days or
Hmm.
some, cheat meals or something to kind of be that carrot, because if you just stay at that low calorie for too long,
Right.
it starts to feel a little bit daunting.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about your lifestyle and cardio and daily activity. When you started the challenge, were there anything that you changed in regard to that?
So yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I mean, the whole reason I started this one is because I got some bad news in 2023. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it
Wow.
was a big, downer for me. And I thought, you know what? I'm at this level. My doctor wanted to put me on hormone restriction, like testosterone restriction drugs. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, can't we try something else? And he's like, well, you know, your PSA levels are very high. I mean, what I normally recommend is that you get surgery. And I'm like, started doing a lot of research, and so I came to the conclusion that I was going to do it on my own, and I'm gonna try and do active surveillance, and that's what I started doing with my doctor. And long story short, I just got my numbers back after the transformation challenge. My PSA went way down. It's still not in the safe range, but whatever. I'm good, right? I'm out of the anyway. So my transformation, my diet, I actually did something very moderate.
Yeah.
Um, I just started losing, like, I started dropping like 100 calories a week,
Okay.
depending on where I saw the scale. And I used the scale as a tool. I mean, I would weigh myself in the morning and weigh myself at night. If at night I was weighing more than the day before, then I thought, I ate a little too much. So I kept my baseline in terms of
Sure.
calories for as long as I could. As long as I was losing a little bit of weight, I was good. And every week I would start to increase 1,000 steps. So I started right around, I think it was like 8,500 steps per day.
Hmm.
And then I would increase it to 9,500 and 10,500. And by the end of the transformation, I was walking like 22,000 steps per day.
I mean, that's a pretty significant portion of your day. So is that part of something that fits your schedule, or were you having to like find time?
So yeah, people ask me that all the time. I'm like, I would get up pretty early in the morning because I work as an HR director here at my workplace.
Hmm.
I also walk a lot here, so I was putting most of my steps in at work just from the get-go, right? I already had like
Just
7.
making excuses to get up and go move around the office.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, every day I'm out there talking to people. I have 180 employees, so I have to, touch base with all of them pretty much. But in the morning, once the challenge started, I'm like, I'm going to commit to doing half an hour in the morning of just walking around the neighborhood, basically. Um, and then I just whatever I walked here, and then if I felt like I was like 12, 11,000 steps, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
And as I start to progress, I start feeling like, okay, I need to add a little more steps. So I would do a little more walking after dinner, whether it was 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. By the end of the transformation, I was walking an hour in the morning, an hour at night, right? Because I wanted to get up to
Yeah.
20,000 plus. I didn't cardio wise, I probably um, did about half an hour in the beginning and at the end of the transformation, half an hour in the morning, right after I did my what I call the loop of 30 minutes. I would do 30 minutes of cardio at, intensity level 2, and then towards the end I did.
Is that something you have at home? You have a cardio machine at home?
I live in an apartment complex and they have a little gym, so they have the
Oh, nice.
treadmills and they have the bikes and stuff, but that's what I used. Anyway, so I would modify it. I didn't do it every day, but yeah, the steps were always there. Steps were always. So the cardio was part of the 23,000 steps, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the theme that I've noticed from everyone that I've talked to is that they did some form of step tracking, step counting. Dan, who won our last challenge, he, I mean, on
Oh,
his
damn.
podcast, he said on his 50th birthday, he did
Yeah,
50,000 steps.
insane. I've watched
Um,
those interviews. Yeah.
and I personally have gotten over 30,000, but I was in Las Vegas. I was on prep, so I was doing cardio. Plus, we just walked around Las Vegas all day, and I was like, that
Right.
was only 30. So to get 50, it kind of but I like outside the box thinking because I think, especially in my space, to people that are watching this podcast that don't do bodybuilding, but in my space, I'm considered crazy because the way I coach my athletes through steps and cardio.
Right.
Um, and so I love outside the box thinking because I think if you told someone you're doing 2 hours of cardio, they would say, "Are you crazy?" But if you say
Right.
you're going for a walk twice a day for an hour, no one would bat an eye.
Exactly.
All right, hopefully there was some really good takeaways for you there. I always enjoy doing these post-transformation challenge interviews because there's a lot to take away. And I always believe that success leaves clues. The success that he had, the clues that he gave us, I hear it over and over. Consistency, accountability, and with the 90-day challenge, that deadline, that motivation. Guys, we're going to give you over 100 training plans and meal plans. We're going to focus on making sure that you guys get all your questions answered. If you don't want to have a coach, you don't need one. You just pay your entry fee, you get all the information, you do it yourself. But if you want a coach, we can set that up for you too. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to be taking part in this challenge. I want to get a little bit leaner, a little bit sexier for summer. Hopefully some of you guys and girls out there join me, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.